Hi all, this is Once and Future Gamer, and welcome to another Pokemon Challenge. Last week, we went at Pokemon Crystal with just a single Wooper, an attempt that was not without its challenges. Today though, we go to Gen 3 Kanto in a Halloween special and see if we can beat Pokemon Fire Red using just a single Gastly. We are Ghost and Poison type. 2 physical stab types on a special attacking Pokemon. Nice. We've got a 310 base stat total with good special attack and speed. Everything else is terrifyingly bad though. 310 is the same BST as the Hoenn and Galar starter Pokemon, plus Glameow, Doduo and Sewaddle. We have 3 immunities, normal and fighting, plus ground thanks to our ability Levitate. We are weak to Ghost, Psychic and Dark, plus we resist Poison, Bug and Grass. Move-wise, the opening bit of the game is going to suck when we face off versus normal types, as we only get Ghost moves that do damage. Unless I want to curse Rattata and Pidgey. That's not a viable long-term strategy though. Nightshade might be useful, as we saw in the Duskull run a few weeks back, but here we actually have decent attack stats, so probably not. I think we will get better moves via TM. It might be worth keeping Shadow Ball for Psychic types, as they tend to, not always, but tend to, have bad physical defence and good special defence. And on that note, the TMs, Hidden Power, Giga Drain, Thunderbolt, Psychic, Thief, all of these could be useful. Everything else, not so much. Even the move tutors are pretty underwhelming in this game. Predictions. The first bit of the game, where we have to fight trainers with normal types, is going to suck, given that we can't hurt them easily. Brock, potentially, could be annoying, but I think we will have enough if we get Nightshade beforehand. Sabrina could be an issue if we can't one-hit her team, because we're weak to psychic attacks. Lorelei and Agatha could both be annoying at the Elite Four. Lance could too, because we don't get Ice Beam. No doubt the rival won't be fun either. The rules. In combat, I can only use Gastly. Other Pokemon will be needed for HMs because we don't learn any, but those Pokemon will be unable to fight. Only held items and Pokeballs in battle. Last of all, no glitches or exploits. If you do enjoy what you see, drop a like, hit subscribe and ring the alert bell to help the channel grow. So, it's one of those where we are not implicitly weak against one of the starters, so I look at the rest of the potential rivals team. I choose to replace Squirtle so that we can do the whole run with Gastly, but also so that he has Venusaur. Executor doesn't learn an attacking psychic move, while Gyarados and Arcanine both get Bite. I get the chance to nickname the Gastly, and I pick Rick Gastly. Probably doesn't help that our Gastly is female, but it's too good a nickname to pass up. So, she's not going to get let down or deserted. She's got the careful nature, so increase special defence and load special attack. Fandabby-tastic, spot the sarcasm. The rival fight is easy at least. His Bulbasaur only has Tackle as an offensive move, so it can't actually hurt us. We hit a lick and paralyse it on the first turn, which is handy. The problem we will have is if it spams Growl, because each hit of Lick will do less damage. So, we might not lose this fight, but it will become very, very frustrating over the passage of time. I lose track of how many Licks we hit, but it gets paralysed a bunch of times and we can come away with a victory at least. So, there is that. Now then, let's get the really horrible part started. This is something I clinically dislike about doing challenges in Fire Red. I cannot EV train the special attack until I get to Cerulean City. I might want to do something with the speed EVs though, and we can hit Weedle and Pikachu in Viridian Forest for that. If I wanted to train the defence, it'd be easy because there's Metapod and Kakuna in the same area. I keep on fighting my way through, getting to level 13 where I learn Curse. I might need this for the Brock fight. I get to Pewter City and we rock up to the gym. Pun entirely intended, and we're ready to fight. When we face off with the Rock-type gym leader, it is a mixed bag of results. Geodude is really not a problem. See, all it knows as an offensive move, like the rival with the starter in the first fight, is Tackle. So, we can wear it down with licks pretty quickly. It does take 10 of them, but we do eventually take it down. And the worst thing it can do is drag it out even longer by using defence curl. So yeah, that particular fight is nowhere near close to being an issue in the slightest. Onyx though, yeah, I nearly played this perfectly. So, the first thing I do versus Onyx is land the hypnosis and we put it to sleep before I curse it. Bleeping Onyx. We lose half our health to curse, but we've put him on a timer. I land a few licks before he wakes up and hits a rock tomb, which we do survive to end up on red health. Worse though, it lowers our speed. One more turn would see him go down. The loss of our speed means that Onyx can finish us off with Rock Tomb before we can hit the lick, or the curse damage would finish it off. Once again, in my illustrious history of playing Pokemon, I get screwed over by the accuracy whims of Rock Tomb. I grind and then get Nightshade at level 16 before heading back to try this fight again. This should make things a little easier to hurt him when it comes down to it, because not being punished by rock hard defense stats is good. Geodude is a 2-hit with Nightshade, which is good because it saves us having to lick that stony little body to death. Onyx is tougher. The first Nightshade does what looks like over half, and I think I've got this in the bag, even as we get tagged by Rock Tomb. It survives the second Nightshade on a sliver of health, and the speed drop is enough that it can attack twice in a row to leave us on 3 solitary hit points, but we do finish it off just in time. Phew! A crit or a high damage roll would have ended us right there. I race through Mount Moon, getting the Thief TM so that I have a way to hurt normal types and picking up a fossil. I grab the first one that springs to hand. I'm not too fussed about which one is which because it's not like I'm going to be using it either way. I get to Cerulean City and the first thing I go do is challenge the rival because I want access to the grass at the top of Nugget Bridge to see if I can train that special attack stat. I'm not too hopeful I'll get much out of it, but I might be able to get something. Pidgeotto is first and it royally messes us up with a single sand attack. We do hit a crit Thief on it but miss a second one before downing it with the third, which is something approaching a relief. We get hit with 2 gust attacks that do big damage though. Abra is a 2-hit. It can't hurt us, so I'm not worried. It's a shame we don't have any moves that restore HP. Bulbasaur is a bit more annoying. We hit a Thief on it for minimal damage, but it puts us to sleep and lashes us with Vine Whip, which isn't the worst thing in the world because it doesn't do that much damage. We do wake up after only 2 turns and take it out. Rattata, I tried to confuse for about 5 straight turns and miss each Confuse Ray. Remember, this is Confuse Ray, not Supersonic, I'll add, before we finally get success. It hits itself in confusion and then we finish it off with Thief. Time to train that special attack stat as best I can. I get Rick Gastly to level 32, knocking out nothing but Oddish and Abra, and then I decide to go and see what I can do versus Misty. Probably a lot might be my guess. Thief will be super effective versus Starmie, so it could be easy. Or it might shrug it off, we'll have to see. Staryu survives Thief and hits a Water Pulse that thankfully doesn't confuse us. She burns one of her super potions and we take it out with 2 Nightshades. Starmie is next and it takes massive damage from Thief before hitting Water Pulse that again does not confuse us, and we can take it out on the next turn to get the second badge. We're up and running now. Next major fight is the rival one on the SSN and we have Shadow Ball in our arsenal. As I said priorly, it'll be good for anything with low physical defence and high special defence, as long as they're not immune to it. And I think it might be handy in the next gym. We've got to get there first though. Pidgeotto is a 2-hit with Thief, but again, we get tagged with a Sand attack rather infuriatingly. Kadabra is next, but we blast it with Shadow Ball. Ivysaur survives Shadow Ball on a sliver, rather annoyingly, and puts us to sleep before hitting us with Vine Whips. I'm at least grateful that it hasn't used Leech Seed, and then it promptly goes and uses Leech Seed. We stay asleep for several turns before waking up and finishing it with Shadow Ball. Raticate survives Thief on a sliver because clearly it's been that sort of fight where nothing wants to get one hit before we take it down at the second attempt. Before we attempt the gym, I do get my hands on a hidden power TM and I save the game before using it to see what sort of hidden power we get. I genuinely think ice would be most preferable if I'm honest, but I don't know. Knowing my luck, it'll probably be ghost. I do some experimentation and it does neutral damage on Pidgey, so it's not electric, ice, rock, bug, ground or grass. I fight a Meowth shortly after and it does super effective damage, so it's the fighting type. That is not going to do me a whole lot of good, so I reset the game and go look for the fight with Surge. Surge then, in the electric gym. Let's see how we do with this one after the moral victory of conquering one of the most irritating gym puzzles in existence. I am pretty glad that Surge doesn't have any of the Magnemite line in this game, because that would make this harder. We're set up poorly for dealing with those. Voltorb is a one-hit with Shadow Ball, and so is Pikachu, to nobody's surprise. I know exactly what he likes to do with his Raichu, using a combo of Thunder Wave and Double Team, so I curse him, just in case. It is better to get out in front of something, rather than playing catch-up. He uses those two moves exactly, rather than attacking a weakened opponent, but we don't get paralysed when we get the chance to attack. Our Shadow Ball lands on the cursed Raichu and floors it. Let's move on. I reach Lavender Town after traversing the rock tunnel and make my way up to go fight the rival in Pokemon Tower. I always figure I might as well do this while I'm here. No doubt it'll go similar to the rest. If I came here after Celadon, I figure this might be a very different fight. It goes badly. Thief still can't one-hit Pidgeotto and we get hit with a sand attack. Though eventually we do take Pidgeotto down, so that's a bit of a relief. Kadabra is a one-hit with Shadow Ball. The issue is Gyarados, as we miss so many attacks on it, and worse, it has Bite. Now we are lucky that Bite is special and not physical in this game, for some reason, because there's nothing that exudes physicality less than me than biting someone. We do eventually take it down with a crit Shadow Ball after missing like 4 or 5 of them, but we're so weak. Growlithe comes in, we leave it on a sliver with Thief, and then it ends us with Ember. Now that didn't go to plan, huh? I upgrade our moveset, getting the Psychic TM from Saffron City, and then, when I'm in Celadon, I make the choice to go after Erica, because I want the TM that she gives out too. There is another move I want in this city, but we'll see if I can get it yet or not. When we begin the fight with Erica, I've got Psychic in hand and it proves to be enough to rip through her team, tearing down Victory Bell with a crit, ripping through Tangela, who I think has pretty bad special defence anyway, before Vileplume is last and it also can't stand up before the attack. 4 badges down, let's move on. I do get the Thunderbolt TM before going out to face Giovanni, but I want to keep Thief for a bit longer yet. At least until after the first Snorlax fight, because I can't be bothered catching 30 Pokemon for the item finder and the leftovers. Onix is a one-hit with Giga Drain, so that's Giovanni's first down. Kangaskhan is a 2-hit with Psychic, but it lands a Bite in exchange. I can't imagine biting something that's made out of toxic gas is pleasant, but we heal our wounds when it comes to Rhyhorn as we one-hit it with Giga Drain. I believe we have a rival we need to get some retribution on before we go any further. I head back into Pokemon Tower and I've got a point to prove. Let's see how he likes us when we've not got to rely on a 40 power Dark move to hurt his Pidgeotto. This is pretty much comprehensive given the advantage we've built up. Pidgeotto goes down to Psychic without getting the chance to kick up Sand. Take that, Feathers. Kadabra goes down to Shadow Ball. Gyarados goes down to Psychic. Growlithe also goes down to Psychic. And Ivysaur at the last, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We blast it with Psychic and we can move on. Once Pokemon Tower is cleaned out, I head to Sylph next, during which time I also discover Snorlax doesn't hold leftovers in this game. Ah well, I guess I'd best go catch 30 Pokemon then. I want to see how we do versus Sabrina before we head down to face Koga. While I'm going through Sylph, let's talk about what's going on with the channel. I am in the process of setting up a Patreon, watch this space. This channel is always going to be free, that's the plan. It's going to be used more as a tip jar if you feel as so inclined. I'll give further updates in future episodes. The week just gone, we've had episode 1 of the Skyward Sword playthrough uploaded. We've had episode 22 of the Fable Anniversary playthrough. as well as episodes 11 and 12 of the playthrough of Resident Evil Revelations 2. There's also been episodes 5 and 6 of the Pokemon Insurgence playthrough, so busy it would appear. Next week, it'll be back to the playthrough of Let's Go Pikachu. Last week's challenge, Pokemon Crystal with a single Wooper, was the 60th Pokemon challenge that I've done, and given that these make up a massive proportion of the stuff that people watch on my channel, I just wanted to say thanks very much for watching. I like to think that the quality of videos has gone up since I first started doing them. I really need to start thinking about what I'm going to do for challenge number 75, which is the next special milestone. Next week. You know what? I don't know how strong or weak it is in Gen 1 at the time of writing this, but I'm going to answer the question of if I can beat Pokemon Yellow with just a single Lickitung. Very much a forgotten Pokemon, so I guess we'll see what happens. Be sure to join me for that challenge. While we are here, I figure that we'll do the rival fight and see how we match up. This is usually one of the hardest fights. I have plenty of memories of getting wiped in this fight plenty of times and Pokemon Blue as a kid. Anyway, we've well got enough coverage to beat him now, especially as we introduce Mr. Pidgeot to Mr. Thunderbolt and down it. Alakazam, out next, is wiped by Shadow Ball. I wanted that to come out before Growlithe and Gyarados. Those two are next, and it is a double Intimidate, hence the problem with Shadow Ball. Gyarados goes down to Thunderbolt, and because I don't want the doggo to feel left out, that gets zapped as well. We then one-hit the Venusaur with Psychic. Boss Rocket time, and we move on out to face Giovanni. I'm well prepared for him. One of the biggest problems that can occur with him in this game is being poisoned by his Nidorino. We don't have to worry about that here though. We smash it into the ground with Psychic when we face the poisonous purple dino. Rhyhorn goes down to Giga Drain up next before he brings out Nidoqueen, and we crash into it with a Psychic attack for the one-hit knockout. Up last is Kangaskhan, and I have a feeling that this genuinely cannot hurt us. We down it with 2 Thunderbolts for the win. I always wondered why he never uses Onix again after the first fight, apart from, you know, the idea that it gets let down by being an Onix. Might as well make a try on Sabrina while we're here. I personally think that out of her 4 Pokemon, 3 of them should not be an issue. We'll probably not have any problems with Kadabra, Mr. Mime or Venomoth. I would be immensely worried about Alakazam though. I know we've just beaten one, but it will be nearly 10 levels stronger than the rivals. I guess we'll just have to see, and if we can't do it, I'll just swing down to face Koga instead. It turns out that we have very little to worry about as we sweep her entire team in a single hit apiece. Kadabra gets laid out by Shadow Ball. The creepy Mr. Mime also gets laid out by Shadow Ball before she then chooses to go into Alakazam, who also can't stand up to the Shadow Ball. Last is the random Venomoth. I'd love to know what the developers were thinking there, and it gets blasted out with Psychic. So yeah, 5 badges down. We head to Fuchsia City next. I spend a bit of time in the Safari Zone to fill in my Pokédex so I can get the item finder, and then I head to face Koga. His whole shtick involves Toxic, and we're immune to that, so it's not like this is going to be a seriously hard fight at all, I reckon. I'm feeling pretty good that Rick Gastly can beat this sturdy ninja. I reckon we one-shot sweep his entire team with Psychic, so we'll have to see if I'm right or not. You know what? 2 coughings, a muck and a wheezing. My prediction proves to be absolutely spot on, as we tear through that team with complete ease, each of them a one-hit with Psychic. If we're one-hitting muck, then usually we're doing something right, because that thing can be a pain. Let's go head to the next gym then. Blaine. Famously, he's not as flaky in Fire Red and Leaf Green as he is in Red and Blue. So, I anticipate this fight being more of a challenge than the last few gym leaders have. We don't have a super effective way of wrecking him, so it's going to be a case of going for our most powerful moves, Thunderbolt and Psychic, and hoping that we can do enough damage on him without being wrecked in exchange. I am worried about that Arcanine though. Growlithe goes down to Thunderbolt, its only act of note being to intimidate us. Then he goes into the Arcanine so that we're double intimidated. It's a good job I'm not planning on using Shadow Ball. It survives Thunderbolt on red health and hits a Fire Blast which does over half. He then heals it and we blast it with Psychic, getting some health recovery from leftovers. He then heals it and we blast it with Psychic, getting some health recovery from leftovers. And then we finish it with a third Psychic before we blast Ponyta into oblivion. And then when the Rapidash comes out, we one-hit that as well, meaning we get the 7th badge. Blaine should have had Ninetales and Magmar in this fight instead of Growlithe and Ponyta. This has always irritated me. I know they fixed it in the Let's Go games, but still. Anyway, one gym left, and we might as well go see what sort of joy we've got to endure versus Giovanni. I'm not too worried. We cover the weaknesses of his team quite well. We've got Gear Drain for the ground types and Psychic for the poison types. This goes every sort of way that you'd probably expect it to, as the first Rhyhorn goes down to Giga Drain before he goes for the Dugtrio next, and we also Giga Drain that into oblivion. We face the Nido royalty next, but Rick Gastly doesn't care about whether they have a crown or not, and we blast both Nido Queen and Nido King with psychic attacks to down them. Last is his second Rhyhorn, and it goes down in similar fashion to the first one, Giga Drain to death. We didn't do this fight earlier in the game on Route 22 because we didn't have the means of touching the rival's Pidgey, but I can reach out and touch that bird now, and I wholeheartedly intend to do just that. Most of this fight is straightforward, but something happens near the end that makes me wary of the champion fight. Pidgeot up first is a one-hit with Thunderbolt. That's expected. Alakazam is a one-hit with Shadow Ball. So far so good. Next is Growlithe, who we down with Thunderbolt. Wonder why he's keeping Gyarados away from us. Next is Rhyhorn, who goes down to Giga Drain before then he goes for Gyarados, and we down it with Thunderbolt. Last is Venusaur. We blast it with Psychic, but it survives on red health and goes for growth. We got a special defense drop and finish it on the next turn, but that worries me a little for the champion fight. Mind you, we will be stronger then. We fight through Victory Road and make it to the Pokemon League, and as we stand in the Indigo Plateau, here are our stats at level 77. That special attack is pretty good. Remember, this is with a negative nature. Speed is great as well. Defences aren't spectacular. HP is great. Regular attack, which I'll need for Shadow Ball, isn't bad considering. This could be interesting. I think we will get walled somewhere by one of the Elite Four, but if you want to take guesses on how I'm going to do, then drop them away now. Lorelei is first. We have moves that hard counter her team's weaknesses, so in theory, we should be okay here. That's the theory. In practice, she has potential to usually be one of the hardest, so I guess we'll have to see how this plays out. Most of it is easy. Dugong is a one-hit with Thunderbolt, and that's a good sign because that thing can be tanky. Slowbro is a one-hit with Thunderbolt, but I will be amazed if we one-hit Lapras with that move. We don't. It hits Confuse Ray, eats the berry to heal, and then she heals it back up to max. We hit ourselves in confusion and get tagged with Surf, but we are eventually able to finish it off with 2 more Thunderbolts. Cloyster is a one-hit with Thunderbolt before Jinx is last, and this is one of the reasons I still have Shadow Ball, as we one-hit it with the move. Jinx has pretty bad physical defence. That's one down then. Bruno is next, and I'm not wasting a heal for him ahead of this fight. Going in, not at full health, might seem reckless, but come on, it's Bruno! Least intimidating of all the Elite Four. Well, Pokemon-wise anyway. He begins with Onix. Can you guess what I'm going to do yet? Giga Drain pretty much heals us back up to max. Consider wasting a heal averted. Hitmonchan goes down to Psychic, which is a relief as Hitmonchan has decent special defence. Onix number 2 goes down to Giga Drain. Machamp hits the canvas as we blast it with Psychic before he goes for Hitmonlee as a final act of defiance, and we blast it down with Psychic to give us the win. So far, so good. Agatha could go either way, and I've got 2 options. Hope our special attack is superior to their special defence, or blast her ghost types with Shadow Ball and hope for the best. This could be an interesting fight. Gengar number 1 goes down to Psychic, so that's good to know. Golbat goes down to Thunderbolt. Going good so far. Haunter gets laid out by Shadow Ball, but I'll not be going for that move again as Arbok intimidates it. We blast it with Psychic to end that as a threat before we hit the final Gengar with Psychic to end that too and give us the 3rd victory. Lance is probably going to bring us to a crashing halt though. I think we are going to struggle versus his Dragonite because there is no way we're going to one-shot that thing. I'm leery about this fight. We might be able to one-hit the Dragonairs with Psychic, but I'm not going to bet the house on it. If we get paralysed, then all bets are off. My prediction comes true. We down Gyarados with Thunderbolt, which I expected. We outspeed Aerodactyl and blast that down with Thunderbolt to put us 2 up. Dragonite, though, is tougher. We hit it with Psychic for about a third of its health, and it wipes out over half our health with Outrage. Although we do put it down to a quarter with Thunderbolt, a second Outrage knocks us out, meaning that we lose. So, we need to be stronger then. That's the general takeaway from this, I would say. I'd say strong enough to 2-hit Dragonite, so let's go hit the grind board. I get back to Lance at level 82, and we will see if it goes any better this time. His Gyarados and his Aerodactyl at the start go down in a very similar fashion. They come out, they look aggressively impressive, and then they get zapped out of existence with our Thunderbolts. I truly get insanely lucky versus Dragonite, as our Thunderbolt paralyses it and it can't attack due to that status condition. It does less than half, so I fire a Shadow Ball at it and get a special defense drop as it eats the berry and paralysis strikes again. We finish it with Thunderbolt. Dragonair number 1 just survives Psychic, so we have to soften it up with Shadow Ball and then finish it off with Psychic after he heals it. I go in reverse against the other, hitting Shadow Ball, but it paralyses Rick Gastly with Thunder Wave. Thankfully, it only goes to Safeguard, and we can finish it with Psychic. Phew, that was very fortunate. I can't believe my luck there. I suppose the question is, can we beat the rival at this level? I mean, we struggled versus Lance, but he rocks a type that the rival does not. We've seen throughout this journey that I've got some pretty hard counters to most of the rival's team. So let's give this a try. Pidgeot is up first, and we one-hit it with Thunderbolt, meaning we don't have to worry about Sand Attack or Feather Dance. Alakazam is next, and that is best case scenario, as we one-hit it with Shadow Ball. Gyarados is next, and we blast it with Thunderbolt. Arcanine is a 2-hit with Thunderbolt, and we take a Flamethrower in exchange. If he'd sent Alakazam out after the double Intimidate here, it would have been really bad for us. Venusaur is 5th, and we 2-hit it with Psychic after it only goes for growth. Shame we couldn't one-hit it, but oh well. The Rhydon Outlast is a 1-hit with Giga Drain to give us the victory. And with that in mind, we humiliate our rival once again. Oak enters and chides his grandson, rubbing salt into those wounds before he takes us into the Hall of Fame, where we get registered for all eternity. That means we win the run. Okay then, so that was pretty straightforward. Rough start for sure, but once we got the coverage moves, we pretty much just moved straight through the gears, and we got where we needed to be. Fun run. Plus, I am really proud of that nickname. I hope you enjoyed. If you have, hit that like button, smash that subscribe, and ring the bell to stay alerted on everything that's going on with the channel. Join me again, this time next week, for a whole new Pokemon challenge as we stay in Kanto and head to Gen 1 in Pokemon Yellow to see if I can beat it using just a single Lickitung. If you have any ideas for future challenges, drop them in the comments section down below or head to my Discord or my Twitter. Links are in the description of the video. What's going on with me? Well, at the time of writing and recording, I'm feeling relaxed. Halfway through my 2 weeks off work. By the time you hear this though, I'll just be about done with it and ready to go back. Moving swiftly on from that subject, it's been a good holiday so far, can't have any complaints about it all. I think the dog has enjoyed having me at home, I know that much. And yeah, there's some personal life developments that are intriguing so far, we'll have to see where they go. I think I'm going to sign off here. As always, this has been Once and Future Gamer, and this has been Pokemon Fire Red with just a single Gastly. The spooky Halloween special. If you celebrate it, folks, have a spooky good time. In any case, I will see you next time. Bye-bye now.